Hi, I am Nick Labaro, movie critic for NovaStream Network.
And I'm Georja Malt, founder of With G Digital and lover of literature.
Welcome to The Book Was Better. This is a monthly podcast that Georgia and I have begun. We're starting where we watch a film, we read the book the film is based on, and we discuss the age-old debate, what was better, the book or the film? So this is pretty exciting. This is a fun little idea that we've been throwing around for a little while. And Georgia is a lover of books, as she said. You're an avid reader. A literature lover, so to say. Mm-hmm. And I watch far too many films. Way too many movies.
A lot of films, yeah.
And I guess it's one of those things, right, where everyone always has this discussion. If you ever have this talk with someone, they go, I love the book more, I love the movie more, this was better. But maybe that's how we'll feel about some of the books and movies we cover. Or maybe we'll find the middle ground and be like, it doesn't matter as long as you love fiction in any facet it comes in.
As long as it's good storytelling.
Right.
Either way. I think there's room to move. So we'll see. We'll see at the end.
We'll definitely see it.
What the answer is.
This is going to end up in verbal biff-ups about books and movies and what is the superior art form, which is film, of course. No, of course not. But we're super excited to do this, obviously. If you're listening to us, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all your podcasting platforms, thank you. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you and welcome. We're really excited to launch this show. But as a general getting to know us as the audience, talk to me about your relationship with books. So you are an avid reader, but when did books and sort of come into your life, and what was the first book that sparked your love of the format?
Yeah, so I remember the first chapter book I ever read. It was called The Book of the Brownies by Enid Blyton. It's actually not one of her most famous ones.
I was like, I know Enid Blyton, but I've never heard of that book. Actually, to be fair.
And I just loved it. It's just such a great, such imagination. I was such an imaginative kid. Like my mum always read. I knew every fairy tale. Like she read to me every night. I loved storytelling. I used to write my own little stories, ever since I was a kid. And then I got my first job in a bookshop when I was 14.
Yes.
And so from there, I just read and read. And I'm not one of those people that only reads a specific type of thing. So if you were planning to ask me what my favorite book is, I don't actually have an answer. So
I get that. No, I get that.
Yeah, it's like in every genre,
there is one.
There's ones that I'm like a fan of. But really, I just love storytelling. And I think if any story, no matter if it's light or heavy or it's fantasy or it's just one of those day in the life movie, going through someone's as long as it's good storytelling, it has value to me. So I wouldn't call myself an elitist reader.
No, I get that.
I read everything.
Everything. You watch everything. You consume audibly everything. Yeah. And I feel like that's why we're perfect for this sort of show, because I'm the same. Like I read. I know how to read. That's probably good. That's
great that you're literate.
A good really prerequisite for this show. But I'm the same. I love stories. I love getting lost in worlds. I love getting lost with characters. And but my primary format of that is film. And I love watching movies and seeing how they're made and created and whatnot. But there have been times where I've read books and I've been like, holy moly, this is true world building in its finest form. And I think one of the first books I really got that feeling was, and I can't remember the author, and I should have had this prepared, but The Wave.
Oh, yeah.
Like the short book, right?
Yeah.
So I love that book, and I still think there needs to be a fantastic feature film adaptation of that. And hey, who knows, maybe one day when I feel like writing a script, I'll do that. But that was one of those things where I was like, oh, the way this book is written, the way it handles its subject matter is incredibly... It's a tough subject matter, because it's basically talking about Nazism, but in the modern day, right? So I was really locked into the story aspects and the character of that. But that was the first time I read it, and I probably read it when I was 16, and I was like, oh shit, this is fantastic. And then the second time was Gone Girl, and I'd read the book after the movie, and it was the first time, and it may come up in a future episode, where I went, maybe the book is better, in some cases. So that was kind of my intro into...
I feel like the biggest thing is time, because, with movies and even shows, sometimes there's certain restraints that you don't have in books. And also there's just having an inner monologue of someone gives you such an intimate relationship with them. But then also with film, it's sometimes the way that if it's got a good director and cinematographer, it can build the world in a way you hadn't thought of in your mind. So it's I can definitely see
how it enhances.
They both have their own
right?
Yeah, like positives and I guess negatives. But
do you find out, and I guess it might be a thing that comes up with Harry Potter today, but like, do you find that once you've read a book and you've then watched the movie, or maybe even vice versa, you start visualizing things differently? Also, okay, actually the other way around. If you watch the movie and then read the book, do you visualize the movie as you're reading the book, or are you sort of creating your own world, like in the visual mindscape?
I think if it's a strong movie, it definitely leaves an impression.
Yeah.
But I would say that, because I actually did watch the first Harry Potter film before I read the book, because I was only 6 when it came out.
True, yeah.
So I wasn't really, I was just getting to that level that I could read it.
Totally.
And I still, with that book, still visualized things the way it was written.
Actually,
but I know what you mean. Like, if it's a strong movie, it
totally.
sticks.
If it has a really distinct visual style and aesthetic, it sticks with me. And kind of when I was reading Gone Girl, I was seeing Fincher's movie, because obviously like Fincher was the perfect director to tackle that film. But I was seeing that real crisp sort of dark, gritty visualization of all the words, and like especially in the scenes where it's like, or in the chapters where it's Amy writing in her diary, it's like, oh my God, I'm seeing the little nuances and camera shots and stuff. So it's interesting. And I think that's why this will be an interesting show, because the whole format and what we're doing is, we're watching the movie and reading the book that it's based on. But the little caveat that we've done with it is that I will watch the movie, then read the book, and then you will read the book, watch the movie, right? And just to see if there's, we can throw in some little spanners in the works for argument's sake.
Yeah.
To make things...
I think we're going to have a few debates here today on the mic.
To make things interesting. So I'm excited for this show. I'm excited for this project. It's a great way to force me to read more as well. But also read things I normally wouldn't pick up because, as we said, Harry Potter came out in 1997.
Yeah.
The book was released, and then the film Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was released in 2001. So we were young, like 2 when the book came out, 6 when the movie came out. What's your relationship with Harry Potter? So you obviously saw the movie first, but how did Harry Potter come into your life, and what effect has it had on you?
Like, as I've already addressed, a kid with an extreme amount of imagination.
Yeah,
Too much.
Totally. So a magical fantasy world is probably...
I lived in my own magical fantasy world. So a book about a kid who gets a letter to be a wizard and goes to a magical school, it was like it was written for me. It's
Georja Malt exclusive, basically.
I still remember going to see the second movie with a friend when it came out in cinema with my parents, because we were still 7 or 8.
Yeah, totally.
We were young.
Parents
and when the basilisk comes out, it's like this huge snake, and my friend was screaming and terrified, and I'm like, go Harry. Like, I just had no doubt in my mind that he was going to take that mofo out. Like, he was going to get him. Like, I just loved him. Loved the world. It just
the whole wizarding world,
the whole wizarding world. Then just devoured the books, and every time the film came out, I was often at the midnight screening if that's something that was doing.
Oh man, I miss those.
And then my parents, when I finished high school, we went on a family trip, and I got to go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Florida, which was just if anyone's a fan of Harry Potter, I couldn't suggest it
to go and actually
more. So there's actually a scene. You go into Ollivander's wand shop. And he selects someone from the crowd. And even though there were children, he selected me because of the look on my face.
He knew.
And you get to reenact the scene where Harry selects his wand, and you wave a wand that's wrong for you in a vase, smashes.
So you're a witch.
I was a witch.
You're a witch. Oh my God.
And
that is
just
a
awesome.
dream fulfillment right there. That is like the ultimate for anyone in your position. That is like the pinnacle. It doesn't get better.
I cried several times.
I don't blame you at all.
I loved it. So big fan. I had a poster from the 6th movie on the back of my door where Harry's kind of holding his wand, and I'd close my door in bed and he'd be there.
Harry.
Like, I'm
pointing at you. You're the chosen one.
So yes, you could say I'm a fan.
in the full circle way.
Yeah, so let's just say I'm a big
fan.
You
might like Harry Potter. Did you catch up to the books at any point when she started reading them? As they were getting released, you ended up catching up?
Okay. Yeah. So I remember I actually finished the 4th one right before the 4th movie came out. And then from then I was like waiting for the books
to come out.
The movies were like years down the track.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I definitely catched up.
Did you got obviously caught up then in the fanfare of when the Deathly Hallows was released? Were you one of those people who skipped all the way to the end to see how it finished, or did you?
No, I didn't.
That doesn't shock me, because I feel like you are the person who's like, I want this story to play out in front of me.
Yeah, and I knew, because she'd actually gone on an interview, I remember, and said that Harry did die.
Oh shit! Yeah,
and
okay,
she confirmed it. And I got a call from my aunt, and I like cried, and my parents were like, "What is wrong with you?" Because I was just so distressed. But he technically did
call you about it.
But he technically did die. So she was JK was being a bit.
She was like being cheeky about it. She was like, yeah.
But I still I was like. Nah. So I don't believe I knew he was going to come out of it all right. So I just read it through and
he's the boy who lived.
Loved it. Yeah.
He got to live. He gonna live.
Exactly.
I have an interesting relationship with Harry Potter. I did not see any of the Harry Potter films until the Deathly Hallows 2 part 2 came out.
And you watched that one first, or you?
No, I watched all of them leading up to it, and I went to a midnight release of it because I had friends who were really into Harry Potter, and I was just I was never excited to watch it. And that's not to say like talking about the quality of it, but I was a Star Wars kid. I was a Lord of the Rings kid. And I was like, this kid wizard. Like I watch man stuff like Star Wars. Like at 15 or 16 when it came out, I was like, yeah, cool. Yeah. Nice one, bro. But I watched all the movies and I was like, oh yeah, they're cool. And I've probably only seen all the movies maybe 3 times at max.
Yeah.
This was my first time reading the book though, as well. And it was very interesting, and as we'll talk about, I definitely see the appeal of the book, and especially if you're like 10, 11, 12, 13 and reading that for the first time, I'm like, it is written in a way that like you are completely transported into a world, but it's not like Tolkien writing Lord of the Rings or Frank Herbert writing Dune. It's not these elaborate, dense things, right? It's so accessible, fun adventure. So I'm very green to Harry Potter. More so the books, but the movies, in fairness, I've only watched in the last, maybe 14 years ago I watched the first Harry Potter. So that's crazy to think about. No, even less actually, probably almost like 10 years I watched the first Harry Potter.
Well, you were kind of like a Harry Potter kid or you weren't.
That's true. Yeah, there was no like in between, was there?
Not really. Like a lot of the time it's someone who's like strongly there.
And because I wasn't a reader growing up as well. So I feel like the disassociation from the books, I was like, it's just like a movie based on I shouldn't have been so like dismissive of the movies because as a movie fan, and I was wrong because I really like them. And I'm one of those, I feel like it's a controversial take. Chamber of Secrets is my favorite one.
I love Chamber of Secrets.
I fucking love that movie.
I was watching that. Do you know what? It's so funny. Sorry, this is a bit off topic.
No, go.
I watched that the other day because I've been on a Harry Potter absolute whirlwind with Hogwarts Legacy coming out. And so I've watched all the films. And when I watched number 2, I thought, I think this does one of the best jobs of encapsulating all the whimsy and magic and fun of the world, but also tackling the serious topics because the movies, as they get on, as too serious,
they get darker.
They lose the fun.
They grow up with Harry Potter. And
they do, but like almost too much because when you read the books, like there's still so much fun magic happening at Hogwarts and around them, and like they have to sacrifice a lot of that in the films. But with the first 3 books, I think, because they're smaller, it's a bit easier to have time for that. And like they are younger.
They are younger, and we don't get the full development of Voldemort and stuff initially. But no, I think that's exactly why I love it, is that there's a good mix of magical fantasy and darkness, but the scene when they come in on the flying car with Ron and Harry is still, I think, one of the funniest. I love that scene so much. So it is iconic. It is absolutely iconic. But that is why, we're here today. We're here to talk about Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which obviously 1997 for the book, 2001 for the film. Obviously, Georgia, big fan of it as well. So it'll be interesting to see what your stance is, if the book was better or the movie was better. But before we crack into the episode, there's probably a bit of a serious thing we've got to discuss, and that's J.K. Rowling as an author. And she's made comments specifically on Twitter that have been targeted at the transgender community, other minority communities as well, that are disparaging, hurtful, and obviously causing a lot of pain for a lot of people. And the result of that has been a lot of people boycott or protest Harry Potter. They won't read the books, watch the movies, play Hogwarts Legacy. And the debate back and forth has been, should we or should we not do that? And in fairness, that's something we talked about before doing, especially for a launch episode. We were kind of like, Harry Potter and Philosopher's Stone is a quintessential book to film adaptation that everyone associates with that sort of thing. But we also wanted to make sure that we made our stance known of what we think about J.K. Rowling and the disparaging comments she made about that as well. Who didn't deserve it, who don't deserve to be maligned and attacked verbally or physically. I guess we think, and I'll speak for myself, and I kind of know you share the same sentiments. Harry Potter and the wizarding world is now in a place in culture that has transcended just being a creation of J.K. Rowling. There are so many writers, filmmakers, artists, actors, people who work on the films, the stage shows, the books, who have created and expanded the wizarding world far beyond anything J.K. Rowling, whether she had input or not. There are so many people who have been a part of the making of this. Equally, there are so many people who have found Harry Potter and the wizarding world to be a safe haven, a place that they can escape from reality, this fun adventure that makes them feel seen, especially if someone, it's the story of an outcast and the story of someone who is bullied for something that they had no control over. And people find solace in that. People find comfort and love in that. And I think there's a power in taking it back from just being J.K. Rowling's book. I think there's a power in you like coming together as a collective, as a community of people who have nothing but love for obviously the transgender community, but everyone, no matter what your race, sexuality, or gender is, there is love and a safe place within the world of Harry Potter. And I think the reason we decided to do this is because we want to facilitate that and be like, let's take this back. Let's take the power back to the people who do find the comfort and the solace in that. And if you are one of the people who do want to boycott and protest, we understand. Totally understand. That is your personal decision to not consume the material that J.K. Rowling's created. But, we are fans of the franchise. We are fans of the people who love the franchise. And we obviously are fans of the people who have expanded the wizarding world. So that is why we did make the decision to go ahead and do this. But if that's not for you and we personally understand, we hope you come back, listen to other episodes. Because we'll be doing a load of books.
We will.
A load of fun books. So I don't know if you want to add anything onto that or...
I just, completely agree with all those sentiments, Nick. So... It's a shame everything that's happened, but
that's it.
It's
That's it. And we won't let the personal viewings of someone, which are, wrong personal viewings, take away from a clear love for something that is so special to so many people.
Yeah.
And so many different people around the world. So in saying that, let's crack into the meat of the show by talking about what our favorite scenes from the film are. What is something when you watch Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone has stuck out to you as an iconic moment?
I actually, so this isn't really in the book and it's in the movie.
Okay.
I love when Harry and Ron get to Transfiguration class late and McGonagall turns from the cat.
Yes.
And then that is, but like when she says, maybe I should turn you into a pocket watch, like it's so sassy and she's a bit more serious.
It's real Maggie Smith.
In the books, like she's probably doesn't have quite that sass factor. So I love that they gave that to her.
I get that too. Cause like in the book, they are in class. She walks into the classroom, if I remember correctly. They're already there, but she's still like, she's really stern and she's really serious and she's taking no crap. And I'm pretty sure there's a scene or there's a moment in the book where, oh no, that's actually a class with Snape. This is gonna be me throughout all of Harry Potter. It's be like all the classes and all the teachers. I'm trying to remember, but I feel like, she's more stern, but there is a lot of fun. And I think it shows that scene in the movie showcases magic, right? That like,
it's just like, you're just not going to know what you expect in any class you walk into. And I think that's part of the fun and like the intrigue of it all. And I just thought it was such a funny, like it did such a good job of showcasing the magic, showcasing what the school experience is like and showcasing Ron and Harry's personalities a bit too. Like they're two little, like they're smart kids, but they're just boys.
They're just boys.
They're 11-year-old boys.
They're literally prepubescent boys. Like, and I think that's highlighted as well, both in the book and the movie quite well in the train ride, in the Hogwarts Express ride into the school, because just their back and forth of Ron just doesn't have a filter. He's been the little brother to all these Weasley boys for his whole life, so he knows he has to be loud and boisterous just to get heard. And Harry's just real timid. He's just this like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. Harry is figuring stuff out as he goes along. But they find like their common ground is what's really sweet. And I think that bit in the book in McGonagall's class is a lot of fun, because it's just, of course, Ron will be the type of guy to get Harry in trouble in regards to like getting late to class and whatnot. But it's the first time Harry's been allowed to do this. Have this freedom, and he's like, of course he's going to run with it. He finds that freedom within someone.
Well, he's
like
never
Ron.
really had a friend.
No, that's right. That's
so
too. Oh my god,
that's something. It's so hard to not talk about the differences between the book.
No.
Please,
we'll free flow it.
It's like, so in the novel, something that's really talked about that isn't so much touched on in the movie, because in the movie you're like, does Harry go to a normal school? Like, you don't hear anything about his education or like, I'm like, do they homeschool him and keep him locked in the cupboard? But in the book, it's like they talk about he goes to the same primary school as or middle school. No, it would be primary school.
I think it's primary school, but
he goes to the same one as Dudley. And because Dudley hates him so much and the kids are scared of Dudley and his little gang, no one want to hang out with Harry. So Harry is literally friendless.
It's heartbreaking.
It is, So it's to go to Hogwarts, to have friends and to have this little adventure. Like I think in the book you feel even sadder for him, which anyone who's ever watched the movie would be like, how is that possible? But
I think because what the movie does, and I guess this is another key difference between the book and the movie, is in the book we get introduced to the Dursleys, right? Quite heavily in the first 2 chapters, and it's following, is it Fred?
Vernon.
Fred's a Weasley. Yeah. This, again, apologies to everyone in the wizarding world. Mr. Dursley, as I call him, Vernon. It's him going to work and seeing like the owls and stuff everywhere and not knowing like what the hell's going on. So we get a strong introduction to them, but I do like how the movie kind of cuts to the point. Now, that in the book, I found pretty funny, a fan of, but I was glad it wasn't in the movie because the movie opens with such magical intrigue, and that opening scene is probably tied with the Quidditch scene as my favorites.
Yeah.
Because the Quidditch is so much fun.
Awesome.
Oh my God. Just, I could imagine being a 6-year-old watching that and being like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Like, and because I'm a sport fan.
You go to a new school and you have magic and you become the star of the sports team where you get to fly.
Right. It's incredible. and like to me, the logic of the sport, I'm like, I don't care. Like I understand the rules enough. I'm just enjoying what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Something I don't understand though about it is the fact that, and people do know more about Harry Potter than me. There's probably people who know this, but it seems to me like they just spend the whole game playing this game that doesn't even really matter because if the seeker catches the snitch, they likely win.
Yeah.
And I know people will say not necessarily because it only gives you 100 points.
True.
But that seems if you have a good seeker, the rest of the game's
it's done.
irrelevant.
Like there's exactly. It's
like all these poor kids getting hit with bludgers, throwing quaffles around, and Harry's just like, "Got it, guys, we won."
Yeah, oh, bless him.
You know,
but it's done so well in the movie. But then that opening scene, right, when McGonagall comes down, Dumbledore comes down, Hagrid comes, and of course Hagrid coming in on the motorcycle. It does play out a little differently in the book, but I do like how Robert Zemeckis, who directed the film, Chris Columbus directed the film. I like that this magical introduction really gives you an idea straight away of, oh wow, this is a world that can happen within our real world. And there's just a really fun, adventurous feeling to it all. And then obviously we get the shot of the lightning bolt on the baby's head, and it's like, okay, this is gonna transport me somewhere. So I love the Quidditch scene, but I also love the opening scene. But I do like the opening in the book. I'm just glad it's not in the movie. For some reason, I just don't think it would work as well.
I don't think it would work in the film. What I love about it in the book, though, is so when it opens with Vernon going to work, so you find out that what it does is it offers such a great juxtaposition between the normalcy of the Dursleys and how mundane they are and the craziness that is the Wizarding World.
Boring family
and
in
the
the
thing
book.
is, do you know what I find? Because whenever you see them in the film, they're caught up in something of Harry's hijinks.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
So to be honest, I don't always think of them as
just
completely normal
people,
because there's always something happening with Harry that drags them into this chaos. Whereas in the book, from the first get-go, Vernon Dursley's on his way to work. He owns a drill factory and makes drills and goes to the bakery and gets an ice bun. And it's just like such this mundane...
This normalcy,
like Aunt Petunia's gossiping over the fence. And they live this really mundane life.
Did you picture anyone, not necessarily maybe in your family or friends, but like they got Petunia so well in the book, in the film as well. Like that is exactly who I would picture looking like that. That gossipy neighbor who you're like, I can't tell, like I'm going to listen to you and I can't tell you to be quiet because you'll get mad at me for telling you to be quiet. So I'm just going to bear listening to you. And it's funny in the book. But you're so right. Like the introduction to the Dursleys is so mundane, but it's written well. I'll give it that. I was intrigued by it. I think that's what makes and potentially because you don't have the visual language or the visual style to showcase magic straight away. You need that juxtaposition, right? You need that normalcy, that routine, that mundanity to be like when Hagrid flies in on a motorcycle,
You're
when
like,
McGonagall turns from a cat into to McGonagall, you're like, oh, there's magic in this world, and it's real, like outlandish magic. So no, I'm a big fan of that. What's your favorite moment in the book then?
My favorite moment in the book, I like some of the things that weren't included in the movie. Like I do, like I kind of like I like when Hermione and Harry actually go to meet Ron's brother's friends and give the baby dragon. So most people who've seen the film would know Hagrid gets a dragon, but he really shouldn't be keeping it. In the books, Harry, Hermione, and Ron are really trying to get rid of this dragon to save Hagrid because Malfoy knows about it and he's going to tell on them. And there's a scene where they link up with Ron's brother's friends who are on their way to Romania where he's studying dragons, and they pick up the baby dragon. And I think what it does is it gives Hermione a really nice moment because like Ron and Harry, I feel like are definitely the strongest in the first movie. They're the friendship,
stars of the
And even in the book, in the first half, Hermione's not very close. But really, there's a moment after they beat the troll, she's much more involved.
That's when the trio is really formed. I know, because especially in the first half, well, before that moment in the book, a lot of the cutaways to Hermione in the book are background conversations that they overhear. So she's discussing with which of the Weasleys is the prefect?
Percy.
Percy Weasley. Like after the Sorting Hat scene, Ron and Harry are talking to each other about what they're going to do, and then you overhear Hermione talking to Percy about, oh, I've studied this book and I'm ready for this class. But yeah, you're right. When they beat the troll, that's pretty much when the trio was formed, and it happens a little less like that in the movie. I feel like Hermione is a lot more of a presence. Even obviously she has the scene on Hogwarts Express where she comes in. She's like, we're looking for. Yeah, that's right. And so she's apparent in the book, and we know she's there, but I feel like there's more of a presence of Hermione from that scene in the movie as opposed to the book as well.
But then also I think on the other hand, from the second half of the book, she's more present than in the films.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know.
I see what you mean.
Once they beat that troll in the book, it's like she's in on it.
In the book, they are
it's the trio. But like in the movie, it more just sort of...
There's still a Ron and Harry exclusivity vibe,
and then she's sort of just there, but you feel the connection more. And I think that scene of her and Harry going to deliver the dragon is just really nice because Ron's actually injured in hospital, so he can't go. Yeah. And it just gives them a nice little amount of time, and it shows her as like valuing friendship and loyalty over rules. I was going to say, because
to me in the book, and I know that this is something that sort of is played with early on in the movies, is everyone's like, oh, Harry and Hermione in a romantic sense. I didn't get that in the book, which is great. I got the friendship more so at that point, and I liked that. I think, and especially because at that age, they're young. Of course, everyone's supposed to be boyfriends and girlfriends at 11, but like this felt like an authentic friendship, and that I think is why a lot of people are attracted to the trio in a whole, because it doesn't have to be romantic until obviously hormones and puberty comes into play for these guys. And I don't know how it's done in the later books, but I think I really appreciated that about the writings.
No, it's really beautiful. I mean, I love the friendship in both, but the book is really great at it does it well. Them. Yeah.
What do you think then is something that the film adapted from the book but didn't do it as well? Is there anything in there that sort of...
It's not, because I actually truly believe that they did a fantastic job.
I agree too.
I think the things they cut would have been the things I would have cut.
Yep, totally.
A lot of it. For me, it's
a great movie, by the way. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah. And just like also how the special effects hold up. Anyway.
Right. Yeah, totally. No, totally. Yeah.
But I think for me, it's more just like the fun little details that get lost is sad for me. And that's not something that they can control because they only have, an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
You can't have everything, but it's just the character building that they miss out on. So, yes, we know from the film, Neville has a toad called Trevor.
Yep.
In the book, you find out that having a toad is actually really uncool and unfashionable
it's
as a pet.
Yeah, because you either want an owl or a cat, right? Yeah, you can have either three, but like, or the rat.
Yeah,
of course.
but it's like Ron sort of says how embarrassing if I had a toad, and
This
then
is Ron who's
Hermione's
holding-
like, oh, Neville's lost a toad, and you're like, that's where you're really like, oh, Neville.
Poor Neville.
Poor Neville.
Really setting the foundation of
yeah.
where that character's going to go later on.
And just fun little details like that, I guess, that they miss out on. But I also understand that you can't have everything. So.
I would agree. I feel like it's a pretty faithful adaptation, and it's interesting because I heard a quote. I've heard this quote like years ago that was like, the best version of the book has been made. Now it's time to make the best version of the movie, and that doesn't necessarily mean a 1-for-1 adaptation. So I agree. I think the movie does a great job of capturing the feeling of the book, that magical wonder, that adventurous feeling. It gets the nuances of especially Harry, Ron, and Hermione right, and a lot of that comes down to Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson, right? Like they are
so cute,
so cute. They are so fun together. They are just like, you would watch if all the Harry Potter movies were just them at 11 years old in a year of Hogwarts, it would still be just as fun.
It would.
But I think something I don't think the movie did as well for me is make me realize how dark Snape is. In the book,
yes.
I get it.
Oh, you're so right. Yeah.
I feel like in the book, I'm like, okay, there's something really wrong with this guy. But I guess the movie really pushes you towards, I've written his name down, whoever ends up being Tom
Quirrell.
Quirrell, yeah. Professor Quirrell, right? The movie is so focused on being like, oh, this is a weird guy, like he's, he's whispering to Snape and stuff, and he seems to be everywhere Harry's at certain times. So there's such a strong focus because then obviously the reveal in the movie is that, oh my God, it's Voldemort, right? So, but the book did a great job of me being like, there's something else about this Snape guy that I'm just not as comfortable with. Like there is a darkness, there is a danger that is surrounding him that I think we need to be worried about, but I didn't always get that in the movie.
Do you know what is so funny? Because what I was thinking, rereading it again recently for this podcast, was that in ways I actually like his interpretation in the film better because to me...
Alan Rickman, like as the character?
Yeah, and just because he seemed more... I took him more seriously. In the book, he almost seems like a petty little bitch. Like he's just like really... So, like in the book, in the film, he's obviously doesn't like Harry. That's totally evident, and he's stern and he's harsh and he does pick on him. But in the book, it's like... next level. Like he's like basically like nah.
The
Like
first class when he's asking him all the questions, he's like, well, I was going to do the Alan Rickman voice, and I can't do it. But like when he's like just berating Harry with questions, he's like, what about this? Or what if you mix these two elements together? What potion does that make? And Harry's there like, I don't know. And then obviously like Malfoy's sniveling in the background and all his like Malfoy and his Goonies and stuff. So it's apparent that like the relationship between Snape and Malfoy, there's something more there in the book as well. But yeah, in the movie, I know what you mean. I guess it does take him the book does take him a little less seriously.
Like he's not as distinguished.
That's interesting,
and I wonder...
Do you think a lot of that is Alan Rickman, like, and how well he played that as well? Because firstly, I love Alan Rickman.
Yeah, he did an amazing job. I think he's one of those people that changed the character, like, for the better. Because like, I know JK had a lot planned out.
Okay.
But of the series. Like basically when she wrote the first one, she knew what was going to happen.
How it was going to end.
How it was going to end.
And this was obviously before the movies were coming out as well. Totally. Yeah.
But like I think with Snape, it's like how she ends it with him being quite an not an unsung hero. Like he's still picked on Harry and he's a kid and it's not Harry's fault what happened in the past. But he did a lot for Lily. And
totally.
She tried to show a side of him that was brave and loving. And so like at least with Alan Rickman's character, I see that. Yeah. I see that it's just this introverted, very smart boy who didn't get the girl and is quite tortured and like, but in the book,
the
he's
retrospect
a bit more,
of that,
he's just a bit more
he's sniveling.
Petty.
He's very sniveling.
And
petty.
that's literally a word she uses to describe him. So, but I actually, that's one thing I liked better about the movies for sure.
Is that I
actually liked it.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Just from where he goes, where the character goes.
I get that because I think the trajectory and obviously knowing there's obviously a massive, I don't want to spoil too much ahead for people who may have not seen Harry Potter. There were like 3 of people in the world
just
who
pause this now.
Go
watch
please, sorry.
all 7 all 8 movies.
Yeah, true. Don't worry about Fantastic Beasts just yet. But obviously what happens and how integral his character is to a certain death that happens later in the series. That's a very interesting point that, okay, now you've got me reevaluating what I think. Interesting. That's the best bit about this show. Once you start breaking it down and get other people's views on something, you're like, oh, maybe I was wrong, but maybe I'm not wrong. Who knows? What's some key moments comparatively from the book and the movie itself that you found either changed for the better, you thought was a really faithful adaptation or something you really enjoyed? My first one is I love the scene when Hagrid comes to pick up Harry when they're on the stone house in the middle of the ocean because all their Dursleys are trying to stay away from all the envelopes that are getting sent to them, which is hilarious in the book. It's funny in the visual style of it in the movie is great, but just how the joke keeps going in the book. Like, it is a genuine 4 to 5 pages of envelopes getting dropped in random locations.
It's really funny. And he doesn't go straight to the lighthouse in the book.
No, they do.
Vernon is doing a cross-country tour just trying to get away from these letters.
And I think the book...
And the changing address at each place.
That's so
It's so funny. If they just say, this isn't an example, but if they were staying in a tent in a forest, it would be to Mr. Potter in the sleeping bag in the tent in this forest. It's hilarious.
It is so... And I think the movie did a good job of condensing that and making it still feel magical, but I think the book does that so well. But then Hagrid coming to pick up Harry, I love in the movie. I just think it is hilarious. It is when he zaps Dudley on the bum and started.
I love in the book though where he goes, I was trying to turn him into a pig, but he was so much like a pig already that the only thing missing was the tail.
That's my favorite part, is that Hagrid is a savage in the book. I was losing it. I was laughing so much at the stuff he was saying to this 11-year-old
Also,
boy.
he's a drunk.
He's drunk. Yeah, that's right. He's burping and slurring everywhere.
Whiskey.
He was so, I just thought, I think the movie does it really well and it's a lot of fun. But goddamn, the book, I was genuinely laughing out loud at some of the stuff Hagrid was saying. Hagrid is a sassy little boy in the books.
So funny.
He is great.
And some things, speaking about that scene, you've just sparked me. So I think something that the movie does well is I quite like that he takes Harry from there, because in the book he stays there at the lighthouse. Then they get up in the morning, they're like, we'll be off. Then they go to London, buy the supplies, and then Harry has to go back and stay with the Dursleys because term doesn't actually start till 1st of September, and Harry's birthday is the 31st.
Yep.
That would have ruined...
It wouldn't have been great.
It just wouldn't. It would have ruined the flow. I loved that the movie just sent him on his way because he didn't need to go back to the Dursleys.
You said it earlier. You're so right. They condensed the right parts.
Yeah.
They really the movie has such a good flow to it. I do like Harry's slight attitude change when he comes back from London.
It is.
He's kind of like
book, it's great. I wouldn't cut it from the book.
Totally.
But,
He's just very much now like
I'm magic.
well, Dursleys, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know any spells, but try me.
Yeah.
Watch what happens. I'll give you another tale, Dursley.
And how they drop him at the train station and laugh because there's no platform 9 3/4 and just leave him at the train station. They're like, don't know where you're going. Bye, Harry. Have fun at your magic school.
And that's another great part that the book does really well. And the book does it so well in making Mrs. Weasley so lovely.
Aww,
she's a goddamn sweetheart in the movie and the book. But
but she could have, she's in the book a bit more. She's
definitely
already
in the book,
got that motherly sort of thing
so
towards Harry, really.
she's absolutely sweet. And then obviously we meet young Ginny as well. So knowing where that goes and you're like, okay, laying their foundations there.
Something there's actually a lot that happens in that lighthouse scene. So something in the movie that I love that they did, which wasn't in the book, was Harry drawing the birthday cake.
Yeah.
And wishing himself a happy birthday.
Heartbreaking. Oh,
because in the book he really just counts down.
He does.
And then Hagrid bursts in right at
on the midnight
Harry's
honors,
birthday. But drawing the cake was such a great visual element to add.
Yep.
And I also like that in the movie they didn't. So in the book, it's brought up quite early that Hagrid was expelled from Hogwarts Witchcraft. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. But I think in the movie it would have been too much. There's already so much going on, and that it was fine to leave it for the second one.
Totally.
People, I think kids especially were too young to question why isn't Hagrid a wizard? He was just
He was, exactly.
On school grounds, and he worked there.
He just stayed. He just hung around.
He didn't need that backstory yet, and then when it's time in the second one,
yes, we find out a bit more. Yeah,
yeah,
and that relationship between the trio and Hagrid builds, which obviously is such an integral part to the rest of the series. But no, I agree, I enjoyed knowing off the bat really that Hagrid was just a bit of a loose unit, for like a better word. Like he gets an instruction from Dumbledore. He's like, go retrieve Harry Potter, and he's like, I'm going to do it the Hagrid way. Yeah. And it's just so insane. And Robbie Coltrane was so fantastic as that character. And obviously so sad we lost him earlier this year. But like he is fantastic as Hagrid. Do you have any other scenes or any things you want to discuss about Harry Potter before we head to the final big question?
I do. I have two quick things.
Yeah, please.
One is something from the book and one is something from the movie. So from the book, I do also like, so it's kind of an iconic scene in the movie where Harry meets Draco waiting to go in, but that's different in the book. It's very different. So you don't know he's meeting Draco when he first meets him. He's just meeting this blonde, pale boy when he's going to buy his robes.
Yeah.
And what it does well is it introduces you to the elitism that exists in the wizarding world, which I think
good call.
The book, like the first film, doesn't really cover. It's more in the second one when Hermione gets called a mudblood.
Yes.
And maybe that's over kids' heads, but like as an adult reading it, I think it really set up nicely the attitudes that exist in this world.
And just showing like almost setting up the hierarchy, like the societal hierarchy that is already at Hogwarts. Yeah. It's an establishment. And I will actually, I know not a lot of people give praise to the Fantastic Beasts movie, but I will give praise to the Fantastic Beasts movie for elaborating on that more. We get that, especially in arguably the worst one of the three, Crimes of Grindelwald. That scene at the end with Johnny Depp and he's doing the speech basically about like we have been maligned and just disregarded for so long. So like I appreciate that, that they've expanded on that. But you're right, the book does that so well, and it's between two boys.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Like and
it also shows like how much Draco's parents have put their views on him, and like he didn't really even stand a chance.
No, God no. It's such a generational thing. Yeah, absolutely. It's an
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be finding like the political commentary in a Harry Potter book, but it's so there and it's so prevalent. But that's what makes Harry Potter such a likable protagonist and a likable underdog. Not just the fact that he's come from such a heartbreaking childhood of not just losing his parents, but being brought up by absolute deadbeats of like an auntie and uncle. But he's already looked down upon, even though 90% of the people he encounters in the book are like, it's Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like you are, and he doesn't understand why. But then there's still that 10% who are like, so what? Like I could be the like Malfoy's parents, like I can be the chosen one. It doesn't matter. Like because of just how his parents, how just that line of generations.
Well, it also just shows you human, right? Like in Muggle society, there's people who think they're elite and in Wizarding World. And I love how in the books Hermione's like, oh, I've actually read about you, Harry Potter. You're in Modern History of Magic. Like that's not in the film, but that's cute. Books like Harry's like, I'm in books. She's like, yeah, I'd read it if I was you. You're in it. I also love in the book at the sorting ceremony how the hat sings that song, and it's like an introductory song, and it goes through what the houses stand for, which I don't think is super clear in the film as much what they represent.
Because I feel like in the movie
it's
get
like Slytherin's evil. It's like it's ambitious.
It's ambitious. Totally.
It's like you're not really.
I don't know if I would have taken that seriously in the movie if the hat started singing,
because he's a bit grumpy, so it would have been
he's a real
weird.
Grumpy guy, and he's just singing this song about Gryffindors for the people who are very like brave and very, you know what I mean? So, and like, I think the way it was written, I couldn't help myself but have a little giggle about it. Cause I was like, okay, it's corny, but you're right. It does
maybe not the song, but even just saying like an explanation of the values of the houses.
Like you said, not just a Gryffindor is brave, Slytherin is evil, and also there's Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw.
It was really just, and the poor Hufflepuffs are slammed in the books. They're like, who would want to be in Hufflepuff?
They're even slammed in a sense of like when I think it is the first girl who goes to Hufflepuff, and it's just like, and they congratulated her and welcomed her in. And then Harry Potter's in Gryffindor, and it's like everyone's giving him a standing ovation. Like it's so the best thing that's ever happened. So poor Hufflepuff. And
then my one iconic line from the movie that is just gold that they put in was when Hermione's like, I'm going to bed before you do anything that gets us,
in trouble or
that gets us killed or even worse, expelled. And then Ron goes, she needs to sort out her priorities. That was gold. Like, I loved that. I thought it was such a good showing of Hermione and Ron's dynamic. And it was... Yeah.
The opposites attract mentality.
Yeah,
but I think as part of that as well, it's similar to like Alan Rickman with Snape, right? It's those three kids are brilliant. Like they are, and whether it is they were right for the role or the role formed around them over the however many 12 years almost that these movies came out. That can be another argument for another day, but they ultimately are Ron, Harry, and Hermione, Daniel, Rupert.
Especially in the
Emma
first few for me.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally. Rupert Grint is a funny guy.
He is.
His comedic timing as Ron is brilliant.
I think he was they did him injustice in the later ones because he really just came across as a really jealous, sappy git.
It was jealous and like dumb, but he's not dumb. Like you said,
he's not dumb. He's actually very useful to Harry in the books, and he's a very good mate. And like he has moments of that, but I think that's what I'm saying about like how the movies get really dark and it loses that warmth.
They need through the darkness. It's like they purposely were trying to be like, oh, we're really conflict, right?
And
we need conflict within the trio right now. So. In the classic like hero's journey, they break apart but come back together.
But to show the problems and the story, I guess that means that you lose the moments where maybe nothing significant happens from a plot perspective, but significant character building and relationship building gets lost.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, no, totally. No. But you're right. The foundations are set in the book the same, but it just how it diverts and as
but I totally agree. Those three kids were the dream cast for those characters.
Good.
Amazing.
So good. So well written. All right. Well, the age-old question, the whole reason we're here for this show, Georja Malt.
I just feel like it's going to be the same every week. I think the book was better. Yeah. I'm that person in the room where I was like, you have to read the book. It was so much better.
I'm not gonna disagree, to be honest, because
But just. I think the film was amazing.
I love the movie, and I would definitely.
I'm not going to say that about all the adaptions, but this one,
it'll be interesting as time goes on and we do more of them. But it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I do love the movie. The movie is what I saw first, and when I was reading the book, I was visualizing a lot of the film. But I did have a really good time reading this book, and I like how it expanded on the world. I like that it's still encased and had this magical feeling in the written word. And you're right, those juxtapositions early on with the Dursleys and how boring they are really enhances that sort of stuff. I think this is going to be such an on the fence answer. There are bits of the book that are a lot better than the film. That elaborate on characters that we don't get to see as much who are big players later on.
Yeah, like Hermione even solving the potions problem to get to Quirrell at the end. Like there's just a lot of things that they can't fit in. Yeah. But I feel like that would have been weak as a movie scene, so I understand. So yet again, the parts they cut
it's done really
are justified. Well. Yeah.
So I'm going to say the movie is better, but I'm the same. It's adjust.
Like the look on my face.
Yeah, it's like,
was it though?
And this has been a great one episode project. We've had a lot of fun.
I will not be coming back.
But it's literally, for me, it's just as well, because I find I would probably go and it's probably just our biases to wanting to read and wanting to watch movies. We both love both formats, but I would find that I would go back and rewatch the movie more because I think it is, in a succinct way, a great retelling of the story.
It captures it.
And if I want more of that Harry Potter goodness, I will go back and read the book because it expands on the world. But
I will read the book with the movie playing in the background.
That's wow. I don't have the...
And the audiobook in my ears.
Just a sensory overload
how do I
of Harry
taste
Potter.
And feel
how do we 40x Harry Potter? How do we get just Daniel Radcliffe in the room? Just as you nuzzle into Daniel as you're reading it.
That would be Kyle's worst nightmare, my boyfriend. He's like, he knows he's the only competition he's really got.
Once Daniel's in the room, it's like, sorry, all bets are off. But I genuinely think this, and it may be in other episodes of the show, but this is a tough one to start with because the movie and the book are fantastic.
They're
they
amazing.
are really, really good. And I think this is a fun one to start on So we started on a shit one. That would have been
it would
have been like,
we're like, No Country for Old Men.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, that may come up later, but
we'll see.
We might do that for a winter month when everyone's sad and under their blankets and and whatnot. But look, it's a tie. The book and the movie are fantastic, but
loved both. Yeah,
but we loved both, and obviously we want to hear what you guys think as well. On YouTube, leave in the comment. Do you think the book or the movie is better? And we'll put a poll on Spotify. I don't know if you can do polls. Well, you're a digital creator. You can do polls on Spotify. You know more about this than I do. I've just invented it.
No, you're the podcast guy. Don't you worry.
I've discovered on Spotify you can do polls. So
great, jump on, do the poll. That's
do the poll.
How interactive.
Do you think the movie or the book? Hey, we live in the future. We live in none of this muggle shit. We live in the future. Yeah. That is my wand right there, recording us right now. So this has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed. Thank you for
thanks for having
coming
me.
Through. No, and obviously this is going to be the start of something real fun. Yeah. Reading lots of books, watching lots of movies.
I wish we could tell you guys what we were doing next to leave.
I know we got
to, but we've actually got to.
We've got to figure that out.
A lot of books.
There's a lot. We've got
movies.
a big list coming through. So
if you want to hear anything though, let us know. Drop it in the comments.
Absolutely, let us know what you'd like to cover. Yep. Or what you'd like us to cover. And obviously Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, again, you can subscribe, follow, download the episodes. That really helps us. And then on YouTube, obviously, like, comment, subscribe. All of that jazz. And I think that's all.
That's it.
I think we can wrap up on that.
It's a wrap.
The book was better.
About to board the Hogwarts Express.
We've just been left on the platform.
On the way home.
And we're getting to 9 3/4 on the way home. But thank you all for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.